Welcome to the Audiobook, the Sales Management Handbook, How to Lead High-Performing Sales Teams, published by Harvard Business Review Press. In this book, you will learn what it truly takes to manage and elevate a sales team in today's fast-changing, technology-driven business world. Whether you're an experienced leader or stepping into a sales management role for the first time, this book serves as a practical guide, grounded in both research and real-world experience. Right from the beginning, the authors make it clear that sales management isn't about simply overseeing numbers or pushing people to close deals. It's about leadership, leading with clarity, purpose, and the skills to turn vision into execution. The modern sales manager plays a much bigger role than people often realize. You are not just a supervisor or a quota enforcer. You are the bridge between your company's strategy and the team's performance on the front lines. You translate goals into action, data into decisions, and potential into results. The sales landscape has shifted dramatically. Customers are more informed, buying cycles are more complex, and digital tools now play a central role in how teams operate. Still, at the core, sales remains a human-to-human activity. Buyers might do more research online, but they still seek relationships, trust, and expert guidance. That's why this book is built on a clear idea. While technology is important, it is only as powerful as the people using it, and it's the manager who empowers those people to thrive. Throughout the pages of this book, you'll uncover a framework for success built on 4 key areas: leadership and execution, talent management, digital enablement, and continuous improvement. These 4 pillars are what set high-performing sales teams apart from the rest. When they work together, they create a rhythm, a system, where goals are met consistently, challenges are handled with resilience, and teams grow stronger over time. You'll learn how to hire the right people, coach them with intention, and inspire them to perform beyond expectations. You'll understand how to use data and analytics, not just for reporting, but for making better decisions, guiding your team, and forecasting with greater accuracy. Most importantly, you'll learn how to build a team culture where learning never stops, where people feel accountable and supported, and where growth is not only possible but expected. This book isn't about theory. It's about what works. And by the end, you won't just understand the mechanics of sales management, you'll be ready to lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose in the real world of modern selling. In the first chapter of this book, you begin to understand why, even in our modern world full of technology and automation, salespeople are still essential. It's tempting to think that digital tools, artificial intelligence, and advanced analytics could someday replace the human element in selling. After all, buyers now do much of their research online, compare products without speaking to anyone, and often come to the table already informed. But here's the truth this chapter reveals: when it comes to making complex decisions, building trust, and navigating change, people still want to talk to people. The chapter walks you through why human connection remains at the heart of selling. Customers are more empowered than ever, but that doesn't mean they don't have questions, concerns, or doubts. And when they do, they need someone who can understand their situation, respond in real time, and offer insights tailored to their needs. That's something no algorithm can replace. The role of the salesperson has evolved. It's no longer about pushing a product, but about guiding a journey. It's about being a trusted advisor, someone who can see what the customer really needs and help them move forward with confidence. This chapter also explains that while digital tools are powerful, they're not the solution by themselves. In fact, they can actually create more noise if not used wisely. For example, CRM systems, analytics dashboards, and sales engagement platforms can help you gather data, but it takes a skilled salesperson to turn that data into meaningful action. And it takes an even better manager to help their team use those tools effectively, coaching them not just on what buttons to click, but on how to bring more empathy, clarity, and creativity to every customer interaction. It's also made clear that salespeople are not a luxury. They're essential to growing the business. The authors point out that when sales teams are managed well, they not only hit their numbers, they build deep customer relationships that lead to repeat business, referrals, and long-term success. In other words, great salespeople don't just close deals, they build revenue engines. As you go through this chapter, one message stands out: technology will keep advancing, and tools will keep changing. But your role as a leader is to make sure your people stay at the center of the sales process. Empower them. Equip them. Help them focus on what matters most: building trust, solving real problems, and creating value that customers can feel. In Chapter 2, the focus shifts to one of the most important, and often underestimated, roles in any sales organization: the sales manager. The authors make it clear that the sales manager is not just a middleman between senior leadership and the sales reps. The manager is the engine of the sales team. They are the force behind every closed deal, every strong relationship, and every result the team produces. The chapter opens with a bold truth: a great sales strategy means nothing without great execution, and execution comes from frontline leadership. The sales manager is the person who turns big plans into daily actions. They guide the team's energy, focus, and behaviors. If something's not working, it's usually the manager who sees it first, and who has the responsibility to fix it. But this chapter doesn't just describe the job, it shows you how to do it well. It begins by showing how your personal example shapes everything. If you're prepared, respectful, and energetic, your team mirrors that. If you cut corners or avoid accountability, they will too. Sales managers set the tone every single day, often without realizing it. Your actions speak louder than your directives. The authors then walk through the power of coaching. Real coaching, not just reviewing reports or telling someone to sell more. Great sales managers spend time in the field, observing calls, reviewing emails, and helping reps improve in real time. They give specific feedback and encouragement that lifts performance. And they do it regularly, not just when something goes wrong. One of the most practical parts of this chapter is the advice on routines. You'll learn how daily check-ins, weekly one-on-one meetings, and structured team reviews create rhythm and consistency. These routines do more than track numbers. They give your team clarity, focus, and a sense of momentum. Another powerful idea in this chapter is personalized leadership. Every salesperson is different. Some want to be challenged, others need support. Some are driven by commission, others by recognition or growth. The best managers know their people and adjust their approach accordingly. This doesn't mean changing your values. It means meeting people where they are so you can lead them where they need to go. Finally, the chapter closes with a clear message: culture starts with the manager. You create the culture every day through your behavior, your words, and how you respond to pressure. If you build a culture of trust, learning, and accountability, your team will not only perform better, they'll stay longer, grow faster, and bring out the best in each other. This chapter gives you the blueprint to become that kind of manager. Not just a boss, but a leader who helps people rise, someone who turns strategy into success and talent into high performance. Chapter 3 turns the spotlight on one of the most foundational responsibilities of any sales leader: hiring and onboarding. The authors stress this simple truth: your team is your greatest asset, and who you hire will shape your results more than any tool, process, or strategy. A great hire can elevate your entire team. A poor hire can cost you months of progress, erode morale, and drain energy from your best performers. The chapter begins by explaining that hiring in sales isn't just about resumes and interviews. It's about fit, mindset, and potential. You're not looking for someone who simply has experience. You're looking for someone who can thrive within your system, culture, and customer expectations. That means being thoughtful before you post a job or schedule an interview. What do you really need from this person? What kind of support, behavior, and motivation do you expect? The clearer you are upfront, the better chance you have of attracting the right candidate. When it comes to interviews, the book encourages managers to go beyond standard questions. Don't just ask about past performance. Dig into how the candidate thinks, how they handle failure, how they approach learning. Ask for real stories. Role-play situations. Make them show, not just tell, you how they would work. Sales is a performance profession, and the interview should reflect that. Once someone is hired, the real work begins: onboarding. Too often, sales managers rush this stage or hand it off entirely to HR. But this chapter makes it clear that the first 90 days are critical. New reps form habits fast, both good and bad. As a manager, your job is to give structure, clear expectations, and fast feedback. That includes product knowledge, messaging, systems training, and, most importantly, the cultural norms of your team. The book introduces a concept called ramp to productivity, and it challenges managers to think in terms of weeks, not months. If someone's not making progress in the first 30 days, waiting won't fix it. Early coaching and honest conversations are essential. And so is tracking specific onboarding metrics, like customer activity, meeting quality, and how quickly the rep starts moving real deals forward. The chapter also talks about the human side of onboarding. People want to feel like they belong. That means introducing new hires to the team, pairing them with mentors, and celebrating early wins. Managers should make the new rep feel seen, supported, and challenged. Because when someone feels like their manager is invested in their growth, they respond with more effort, more openness, and more resilience. By the end of the chapter, one thing is clear: great sales teams don't just happen, they're built, rep by rep, and hiring isn't a side task. It's one of the most strategic things you do as a leader. Every person you bring onto the team shapes your culture, your performance, and your future. Chapter 4 shifts the focus from people to performance. It's about building a results-driven culture that doesn't just talk about goals, but reaches them consistently. The authors open with a key message: sales performance isn't a mystery. It's the product of clear expectations, smart activity planning, ongoing coaching, and a culture of accountability. Great managers don't just hope for results, they build the systems that create them. The first step in that system is setting clear, realistic goals. But not just quotas. Yes, revenue targets matter, but this chapter shows how the best sales managers break those numbers down into daily and weekly actions. What activities move the needle? How many calls, meetings, demos, or follow-ups are needed to hit target? These activity metrics are more manageable and give reps a clear path to success. Goals become less overwhelming when you show people what it looks like in real time. Next comes the structure of tracking performance. The book emphasizes that data doesn't replace your judgment, but it enhances it. You should know what to measure, how to interpret it, and when to act on it. Tools like dashboards and CRM reports help, but the magic happens when you sit down with your rep and connect the numbers to behaviors. Are they spending time with the right customers? Are they following up quickly? Are they using their time wisely? The numbers open the door, but your coaching makes the difference. The chapter also dives into the importance of one-on-one meetings. This is where real management happens, not in group updates or monthly reviews, but in quiet, consistent conversations between you and each team member. These meetings should be about more than just results. Ask how they're feeling. What's getting in their way? What's going well? Where do they need help? When you listen well, your reps feel supported, and when they feel supported, they perform better. Coaching is a major theme throughout this chapter. The authors warn against generic advice like, just make more calls. Real coaching is personalized. It's based on observation, not assumption. It means watching how someone pitches, how they handle objections, or how they organize their day. Then giving them clear, specific, encouraging feedback that helps them improve. And it means following up to see if that coaching stuck. Finally, the chapter talks about accountability. It's not about pressure, it's about clarity. Everyone should know what's expected, how they're measured, and what happens when they fall short or rise above. Accountability, done right, builds trust. It creates a sense of fairness. Reps know that good work gets noticed and that problems are addressed quickly and constructively. By the end of this chapter, you understand that consistent performance isn't a mystery. It's the outcome of good planning, clear communication, regular coaching, and a healthy dose of accountability. When you put these elements in place, performance becomes not just expected, but inevitable. Chapter 5 brings us into the rapidly growing space of digital transformation in sales. In today's market, where everything moves faster and customers have access to more information than ever before, the authors argue that sales managers must not only accept digital tools, they must lead their teams in using them effectively. This chapter explains how digital enablement is no longer optional. It's the foundation for a modern, scalable, high-performing sales team. It starts by outlining the new reality. Your customers are more digitally savvy. They research products online, compare competitors, read reviews, and even explore pricing before they ever speak with a rep. So, by the time a conversation happens, they expect value, speed, and relevance. To meet that expectation, sales teams must be equipped with tools that help them work smarter, not just harder. The chapter explores several categories of technology that support sales teams today. There's CRM software that tracks interactions and pipeline stages. There are data analytics platforms that highlight trends, forecast opportunities, and identify at-risk deals. There are sales engagement tools that automate follow-ups and help reps personalize their messaging. And there are AI-powered systems that recommend the next best actions or surface high-potential leads in real time. But as the authors explain, having the tools is only part of the picture. What truly matters is how those tools are used. A cluttered dashboard filled with unused features won't help anyone. That's where the sales manager steps in, not as a tech expert, but as a facilitator. Your job is to help your team understand why these tools matter, how they support success, and when to use them. You don't have to know every button. You just need to lead the team in embracing the mindset. One of the most powerful lessons in this chapter is about data visibility. When your team can see their own performance metrics and how they compare to others, it builds clarity and motivation. The authors stress the importance of transparency. Let your team see the scoreboard. Let them understand where they stand and where they can improve. The right data, shared the right way, turns uncertainty into action. This chapter also warns against over-relying on tech. Digital tools support good selling, they don't replace it. No piece of software can replace trust, emotional intelligence, or strategic thinking. Managers must teach reps how to blend human insight with digital efficiency. The tech helps you move faster, but it's still the human being who earns the deal. Finally, the chapter talks about digital agility. Sales teams must be willing to test, learn, and adjust quickly. Maybe a new tool doesn't work as expected. Maybe a script needs rewriting based on new customer data. Maybe your process needs tweaking. As a sales leader, you must be flexible and proactive in making those changes. Being digitally enabled is as much about mindset as it is about systems. By the end of the chapter, the takeaway is clear: digital tools are here to stay, and they are powerful. But their success depends on how well your people are trained, how wisely they are managed, and how confidently they're led. As a manager, you're the one who brings it all together: people, processes, and platforms, into one smooth, modern sales operation. Chapter 6 shifts the conversation from tools and performance to the emotional and psychological side of sales leadership: motivation. It answers one of the most common questions sales managers face: how do you keep your team energized, focused, and performing at a high level over time? The chapter's central idea is simple but powerful. Real motivation doesn't come from hype or pressure. It comes from purpose, recognition, and alignment with what truly drives each individual rep. It starts by breaking down the myth of one-size-fits-all incentives. Sure, money matters. Bonuses, commissions, and contests can be powerful motivators, especially in the short term. But the best sales managers know that motivation is personal. Some reps are driven by achievement. Others by autonomy. Some want to learn and grow, others want to feel valued and appreciated. If you don't know what makes each team member tick, you're guessing, and that leads to missed opportunities. The authors encourage managers to spend real time learning their people. Ask what success looks like to them. Learn what they're working toward outside of work. Understand their strengths, fears, and goals. This kind of insight allows you to connect performance targets with personal meaning, and that's where lasting motivation comes from. The chapter also explores the power of recognition. And not just during quarterly awards or annual meetings. Recognition should be frequent, specific, and sincere. A well-timed word of praise can be more powerful than a bonus. Letting a rep know they're doing something right, in front of their peers or in a one-on-one, builds confidence, reinforces behavior, and deepens engagement. The best leaders don't wait for perfect results to give recognition. They celebrate progress. Another major theme in this chapter is energy management. Sales is emotionally demanding work. Reps face rejection, pressure, and constant change. Great managers help their teams manage that stress in healthy ways. That could mean encouraging breaks, offering flexibility, or simply creating space to talk about burnout before it becomes a crisis. A motivated team isn't just a team that works hard, it's a team that has the emotional stamina to stay consistent. The authors also stress that motivation starts with the manager. Your attitude sets the tone. If you're passionate, focused, and resilient, your team feels it. If you're disengaged or reactive, they feel that too. Every conversation, every meeting, every response sends a message. Are you someone who builds people up, who believes in their potential, who challenges them with care? Or are you someone who focuses only on the numbers and misses the people behind them? Finally, the chapter ends with a call to be intentional. Don't leave motivation to chance. Build it into your culture. Make it part of your weekly rhythm. Review wins. Set goals. Recognize effort. Create incentives that match the values of your team. And most of all, lead with heart. When your people know you're invested in their growth, not just their output, they'll show up with more energy, more focus, and more commitment. Chapter 7 brings a shift in focus toward one of the most powerful, yet often underused, drivers of sales growth: customer relationships. The chapter explores how top-performing managers guide their teams to move beyond transactions and toward trust, creating real value that keeps customers coming back. It makes one thing very clear: repeat business and referrals don't just happen by luck, they're earned by consistently delivering on promises and treating customers like long-term partners, not short-term wins. It begins with a simple reminder: in sales, the deal is not the finish line. It's the starting point of a relationship. Many reps get caught up in closing, but the most successful ones, and the managers who lead them, understand that the real value comes after the sale. That's when customer loyalty is built. That's when referrals happen. And that's where long-term revenue lives. The chapter talks about what it means to truly serve a customer. It's not just about providing the product or service. It's about solving problems, anticipating needs, and becoming a trusted advisor. And that takes consistency. Sales reps who follow up after delivery, who check in regularly, who ask smart questions and bring helpful insights, those are the reps who stand out. They create emotional loyalty, not just contractual satisfaction. For managers, this chapter lays out the blueprint for coaching a customer-first mindset. You start by helping your reps see the full customer journey. That means understanding the client's industry, goals, challenges, and what success looks like from their perspective. Reps need to see the customer as a human, not just a name in the pipeline. And it's the manager who has to model and reinforce that level of care. One of the most practical parts of this chapter is the advice on customer review meetings. The authors suggest that sales managers and reps should regularly review key accounts together. What's working? Where is the client happy? What might be slipping? These reviews aren't just to manage risk, they're to identify opportunities. A loyal customer is often ready to expand, try something new, or refer you, if you stay engaged. This chapter also stresses the importance of responsiveness. When a customer has a concern, speed matters. Managers should coach their teams to treat every issue with urgency and empathy. A slow response or lack of follow-up sends a message that the customer doesn't matter. On the other hand, handling a problem quickly and respectfully can actually deepen trust. Finally, the chapter closes by linking customer loyalty to team success. When your reps build real relationships, they don't just close deals, they open doors. They create fans. And those fans become repeat buyers, referral sources, and even allies who offer feedback that helps your company grow. For the sales manager, the message is clear: great sales teams don't just sell products, they build partnerships. And it's your job to teach, model, and reinforce that every single day. Chapter 8 takes a practical turn toward the internal structure of your sales team. It's about building the right sales organization, one that fits your market, your strategy, and your customer base. Because even the best talent and tools won't deliver results if the team structure itself is broken or outdated. The authors stress that how you organize your people, the roles they play, the territories they manage, the way they're grouped, will either accelerate your growth or hold you back. The chapter begins by explaining that there is no one-size-fits-all model. The ideal sales structure depends on several things: the complexity of your offerings, the size of your customer base, the length of your sales cycle, and how your buyers like to interact. What works for a high-volume inside sales team might not work for a strategic enterprise sales model. Your first job as a sales leader is to understand the reality of your selling environment, and then build around that. One of the key themes in this chapter is specialization. Many organizations see huge performance gains when they break their sales team into clear roles. That might include hunters who focus on new business, farmers who manage existing accounts, or sales development reps who qualify leads before handing them off. When people have clear responsibilities, they can master their role and execute it with more focus. The book also explores territory design, how to assign reps to regions, industries, or customer segments in a way that maximizes coverage and minimizes overlap. Poor territory design leads to wasted effort, internal competition, and missed opportunities. Great managers use data to shape these decisions. They look at market potential, travel efficiency, historical performance, and customer proximity. The goal is fairness, balance, and opportunity. Another important insight in this chapter is the rise of team selling. Especially in complex sales environments, deals don't get done by one rep alone. You may have technical experts, product specialists, or customer success leads involved. The sales manager's job is to coordinate those roles and make sure everyone knows who's doing what. Clear communication and shared goals turn a group of individuals into a high-functioning team. The chapter also touches on hybrid and virtual structures, which are increasingly common in today's post-pandemic world. With more teams working remotely, sales organizations need to be flexible. That might mean a mix of in-person and virtual selling, or using video and digital platforms to stay close to customers. The manager must lead the shift, not just with technology, but by keeping morale and collaboration strong, even when people aren't in the same room. Finally, the authors emphasize that structure is not set in stone. Markets change. Products evolve. Customer needs shift. And when that happens, your sales structure must be reviewed and realigned. Great managers stay alert. They watch for signs: reps overwhelmed in some areas and underutilized in others. Missed targets. Slower sales cycles. These are clues that something needs adjusting. This chapter gives you a strategic lens to think about your team. It reminds you that structure isn't about control, it's about creating clarity, efficiency, and momentum. When your team is organized well, your reps know where to focus, your customers get better service, and your sales engine runs smoother and faster. Chapter 9 shifts the spotlight onto something that separates average sales managers from great ones: coaching. While many managers assume they're already coaching their team, this chapter makes a bold point: most aren't coaching nearly enough, or in the right way. Coaching isn't just about reviewing numbers or giving occasional advice. True coaching is a consistent, structured, and strategic part of how you lead every rep toward improvement. The authors start by explaining what coaching really is. It's about helping reps grow their skills and confidence. It's not about fixing every mistake for them or micromanaging their every move. Instead, it's about teaching them how to think, how to adapt, and how to improve on their own. Coaching is what builds muscle. It's what turns a rep's potential into performance, and it doesn't happen by accident. This chapter gives a clear framework for effective coaching. First, it has to be ongoing. You don't wait for performance reviews or sales slumps. The best managers build coaching into the daily rhythm: short, focused conversations before or after calls, weekly check-ins with clear goals, and monthly deep dives where you review patterns, progress, and next steps. Second, coaching must be specific. Telling someone to just be more confident or close faster isn't helpful. The best coaching is based on real observations. That means listening to calls, reading emails, sitting in meetings, and then offering targeted feedback. Try asking this question sooner. Let's adjust your tone here. Pause more when you present pricing. These little adjustments, repeated often, add up to big improvements. The chapter also explains that coaching is a partnership. It's not just a manager talking at the rep, it's a conversation. Ask reps how they feel about a call. What would they do differently? Where are they stuck? When reps are involved in their own development, they take more ownership, and they grow faster. Another powerful part of this chapter is the reminder that every rep is different. Some are new and need foundational training. Others are experienced and need sharpening at the edges. Some are confident but inconsistent. Others are skilled but lack motivation. Great coaches meet people where they are. They know when to push, when to listen, when to challenge, and when to simply support. The book also warns against the biggest coaching trap, only focusing on the numbers. While KPIs matter, great coaches focus on behaviors, conversations, and thinking patterns, because those are what drive the numbers in the first place. A dip in sales might not be a pipeline issue, it might be a mindset issue, a coaching moment. And it's the manager who has to spot it and respond. By the end of the chapter, it's clear, coaching isn't extra work. It's the work. It's the most valuable thing you do as a sales manager, because it's how you turn average reps into top performers, and top performers into team leaders. Coaching builds the team. Coaching builds the culture. And coaching, done consistently and well, builds results that last. Chapter 10 brings us into the realm of continuous improvement. In this chapter, the authors introduce a powerful mindset shift. Great sales organizations don't rely on bursts of brilliance or occasional breakthroughs. They rely on constant, steady progress. This chapter teaches managers how to embed a culture where learning, feedback, and refinement are part of the everyday rhythm, not just something reserved for quarterly reviews or annual planning sessions. The chapter opens by asking a critical question: is your team improving week to week, or simply repeating the same work? The difference between high and average performance often comes down to this. High-performing teams get better over time because they build learning into their process. They don't wait for things to break, they review what's working, what's not, and how to improve before problems arise. One of the first tools introduced is the team retrospective. Just like in agile software development, sales managers can use regular retrospectives to look back on a campaign, a quarter, or even a single big deal. What did we do well? What did we miss? What would we change next time? These conversations don't need to be long, but they do need to be honest, and they need to involve the whole team. Learning becomes a shared habit, not an isolated moment. The authors stress the role of feedback and improvement. Not just top-down feedback from manager to rep, but peer-to-peer and bottom-up as well. When your team feels safe sharing what's not working, you uncover problems early, and you show them that their voice matters. Creating this environment means praising openness, acting on feedback quickly, and being transparent about changes. Another key message in this chapter is that data is only valuable when it leads to action. The best managers use dashboards, win-loss analysis, and call reviews not to punish or critique, but to ask better questions. Why did this deal close? Why did that one stall? What patterns are emerging? Data is your improvement fuel, but only if you treat it like a tool for insight, not judgment. The chapter also reminds managers that continuous improvement applies to them, too. Great managers are learners. They ask for feedback, reflect on their own decisions, and adjust their approach based on what the team needs. Modeling this behavior invites your team to do the same. It signals that growth isn't just expected, it's respected. By the end, the message is simple but profound: progress isn't automatic. It has to be designed, encouraged, and celebrated. When you lead with a mindset of continuous improvement, your team becomes more resilient, more curious, and more capable. They bounce back from losses faster. They find new ways to win. And over time, they outperform teams that rely on talent alone. Chapter 11 explores one of the most dynamic and often underestimated aspects of sales leadership: leading through change. Markets shift, tools evolve, customer expectations rise, and companies restructure. Change is constant in sales, but how teams respond to it depends entirely on leadership. This chapter gives managers the tools and mindset needed to guide their teams through transitions with clarity, confidence, and minimal disruption. It opens with the truth that every sales leader knows but few are trained for: change is hard. Even positive change, like a new product launch or a promising reorganization, brings uncertainty. People worry about their roles, their success, and their place in the team. And in sales, where momentum matters, uncertainty can stall productivity. The authors argue that the key to leading through change isn't having all the answers, it's communicating early, often, and honestly. Managers are the front line of change. Your team doesn't hear the change from an executive email, they hear it from you. That's why it's critical to understand the change yourself first. What's the purpose behind it? How does it impact your team? What stays the same? What's expected of them now? Once you're clear, you can guide others. The authors encourage managers to frame the change in terms of opportunity, not just instruction. Show your team how the change benefits them and the customer, not just the company. Another central point in the chapter is managing emotion. Change triggers fear, frustration, and resistance. Great managers don't ignore this, they lean into it. They make space for conversations. They listen without defensiveness. And they validate concerns without letting negativity dominate. Simply acknowledging that this is a big shift, or I know this creates some stress, builds trust. When your team feels heard, they're more likely to get on board. The book also provides a blueprint for building change resilience into your team. That means developing habits of flexibility, openness, and rapid learning long before a major change hits. Teams that are used to experimenting, reviewing, and adjusting don't see change as a disruption, they see it as just another cycle of improvement. The more often you coach adaptability, the stronger your team's muscles become when things get tough. This chapter emphasizes that change isn't a one-time announcement, it's a process. People move through it at different speeds. Some will jump in early. Others will hold back. Your role as a leader is to walk with each person, helping them understand, adapt, and engage. That might mean offering extra support, checking in more frequently, or spotlighting quick wins that show the change is working. Finally, the chapter offers a reminder that how you lead during change defines your leadership. It's easy to lead when things are stable. But your credibility is tested when things are uncertain. Your calm, clarity, and commitment set the tone. If you model resilience, your team will follow your lead, not just during this change, but during every change that follows. Chapter 12 brings everything together by focusing on the concept of sales culture. It explains that while systems, tools, and talent are all important, culture is what truly shapes the long-term success of any sales team. It's the invisible force that influences how people behave when no one is watching, how they react under pressure, and how they treat each other and their customers every single day. The chapter starts with a core message: every team has a culture, whether intentional or not. The question is whether that culture supports or sabotages success. As a manager, you don't just observe the culture, you create it. Through your behavior, your decisions, your communication style, and what you reward or tolerate, you're constantly sending messages about what matters. One of the first building blocks of a strong sales culture is clarity. People need to know what's expected, not just in terms of numbers, but in values, behavior, and attitude. Are we a team that prepares thoroughly? Do we collaborate, or do we compete? Do we celebrate wins together or quietly move on? When expectations are clear, trust grows, and the team moves faster with less confusion. Next, the chapter highlights the importance of consistency. Culture is reinforced through repetition. If you talk about accountability but ignore missed deadlines, the culture suffers. If you promote transparency but hide information, trust erodes. Great leaders align their words with their actions, and they stick with their standards, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Another pillar of great culture is recognition. The best sales teams don't just celebrate big wins, they acknowledge effort, growth, and behaviors that reflect the team's values. They catch people doing things right. And they do it often. This kind of positive reinforcement shapes the emotional tone of the team. It makes people feel seen, appreciated, and motivated to keep giving their best. The chapter also explores how culture shapes learning. In a weak culture, people hide mistakes and avoid feedback. In a strong one, they share lessons, ask questions, and support each other's growth. As a manager, you need to model vulnerability and curiosity. Admit what you're working on. Ask for input. Make learning normal, not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. One of the most important points in this chapter is that culture is everyone's job, but it starts with you. If you're reactive, your team will be tense. If you're focused and fair, your team will be grounded. If you treat people with respect, your team will do the same with each other and with customers. You are the thermostat. You set the temperature. And the longer you lead with intention, the more powerful the culture becomes. The chapter closes by urging sales leaders to protect their culture fiercely. Toxic behaviors, even from high performers, can ruin morale and lower standards. Don't ignore warning signs. Address issues early. And above all, lead in a way that makes your team proud to be part of something meaningful, not just because of the numbers, but because of how they're growing, treating others, and doing business. In the final chapter, the authors offer a clear, grounded conclusion to everything presented throughout the book. This isn't just a summary, it's a call to action. The message is simple: sales leadership is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about committing to the fundamentals, being consistent, and constantly looking for ways to help your team grow. This closing section ties together all the lessons, from hiring and coaching to digital tools and culture, into a mindset that strong leaders carry every day. The chapter begins by reminding you that the sales manager is often the most influential person in a salesperson's professional life. Your words matter. Your energy matters. How you handle setbacks, how you respond to pressure, how you recognize wins, these choices shape your team far more than any company-wide strategy or policy. That's why the greatest sales organizations focus so much on developing their managers. Because when the manager leads well, everything else falls into place. The authors emphasize that sustainable success comes from systems, not random sprints of effort. Sales leaders must build a machine, one that delivers consistently, not just when stars align. That machine includes clear goals, well-trained people, helpful technology, a strong culture, and continuous feedback. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every quarter. You need to keep improving the one you've built. They also stress that leadership is not lonely work, even if it sometimes feels that way. The best sales managers seek mentors, share ideas with peers, and keep learning. They read, attend trainings, ask for feedback, and reflect on what they could be doing better. That mindset, humble, curious, and committed, is the difference between a manager who burns out and one who builds a legacy. As the book wraps up, the authors offer a reassuring thought: leadership is a craft, not a talent you're born with. If you've made mistakes, missed numbers, or struggled with tough conversations, you're not alone. Every great leader has been there. What sets them apart is the choice to keep showing up, to keep learning, and to keep putting their team's success at the center of everything they do. And finally, the book leaves you with a challenge: not to memorize every technique or implement every idea at once, but to pick one area and improve it. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's communication. Maybe it's building stronger routines or being more intentional with culture. Start there. Start small. But start now. Because great sales leadership doesn't just happen. It's built, conversation by conversation, decision by decision, day by day.